Welcome to the 1 Minute Apologist. We interview the world's leading apologists to provide credible answers to curious questions. Jay, what is Sharia law?
All right, now Sharia law is a law that is not really necessarily found in the Quran. It's found in the traditions that come after. Again, Sharia law was only instigated with the four schools of law, the Shafi school, the Maliki school, the Hanbali school, and the Hanafi school. They don't even begin to appear until the 9th century, until 820 with Shafi first. So they're much, much later. But nonetheless, they are how Islam is to be used, how it's to be formed. If it's a theocratic state based on Allah at the top, then you have Muhammad, who is the greatest of all prophets. Underneath him comes the ulama, then the ummah below that, which are the believers. The ulama would be the teachers. Then come the ummah. Then comes the al-kitab, which is us, the Christians, and at the very bottom comes the kafir. That's the theocratic state. It needs to be run. And how you run it is what Sharia law does. It applies how you walk, talk, eat, drink, sleep in every area of life. Muslims are very proud that theirs is a 24/7 religion. 24 hours a day, 7 days of the week, everything is dictated by them. And that's where Sharia law comes in. It shows how it's to be lived out in all the 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How you walk, talk, eat, drinks, how long a beard you're to grow, how you're to train your wife, treat your wife, even how you name your kids. All this is dictated by Sharia law. The difficulty is it's based on a 7th to 9th century model, Arab model, Middle Eastern model. It is not at all relevant for today. Let me give you some examples. In fact, rather than go back to Sharia, let's go back to where they derive their material from. They first derived their material from the Quran. Now, something as simple as, what do you do with thievery? Surah 5, Ayah 38, that means Book 5, verse 38 in the Quran says to cut off the hands of thieves. So Sharia law has to follow that because that's where it gets its injunction from. Should we be cutting off hands of thieves today? Is that relevant for today? Surah 24, Ayah 2 stipulates that if anybody has committed adultery, they're to have 100 lashes. 100 lashes for committing adultery? Is that relevant for today? And when you talk about women, just take a look and see what it says about women. Now, when I look at women and what Sharia law says about women, just need to look at two surahs, Surah 4 and Surah 2. In Surah 4, Ayah 3, it says a man can have up to 4 wives, not the other way around. Is that relevant for today? Should we allow polygamy? Verse 11, it says that a man has twice the inheritance, or a boy has twice the inheritance of his sister when the father dies. Is that relevant for today? Surah 4, Ayah 24 says that a man can have as many concubines, that which his right hand possesseth. That means slaves of war. In and of itself, is that relevant? As many women that he possesses above and beyond the 4 wives. And then verse 34, Surah 4, Ayah 34 says that if a woman disobeys her husband, he can beat her. Do you want to see that brought in to the United States? In Surah 2, Ayah 282, it stipulates that a woman has half the testimony in court of a man. Do we want to see that brought into courts? And then Surah 2, Ayah 223 is one of the most difficult verses of the Quran. It says that a woman is a tilth for her husband and that a man may till his wife. That means may plow her anytime he wants, anywhere he wants, sexually. Horrendous verse. Is that relevant for today? A few verses later in verse 230 in Surah 2, it says that a man can divorce his wife if simply by saying talaq, I divorce you 3 times. Talaq is the word in Arabic. Once he has done the 3rd time, if then the next morning he decides to bring her back, he cannot do that. That woman has to marry another man, has to consummate that marriage. He then has to divorce her before the first man can have her back. Now, is that relevant for today? Now, I'm just showing you a few verses in the Quran of which the Sharia law then expounds upon. Sharia law has to take every one of these verses and applies it to every day, to every situation. No wonder it is not relevant for today. Thank goodness we don't live in the Sharia law. Now, thank goodness it's not being introduced to your country. It's already been introduced to our country, United Kingdom. It became law in 2009 when it comes to marriage and divorce. And we're in the House of Lords right now fighting to destroy it, to get it thrown out. We have 80 Sharia courts now in Britain alone. That's a whole nother implication. Once it's there, it's the thin edge of the wedge. These laws are going to start to be applied, and they're going to get larger and larger and larger. No, it's not relevant at all for today. Thank God I don't have any problem with that with Jesus Christ. Ooh, I love how he treats women. I love what he does with Mary and Martha. I love what he says in Galatians 3:28. I love what he says in Ephesians 5:25. We are to love our wives as Christ loved the church, willing to die for our wives as Christ died for the church. Now, that's a complete corrective to what I see here. Come on back to the Bible. Come on back to Jesus and the way he treated women. That's relevant.